They call it the United Kingdom.
But for you, call it?
And the first problem we have is that as Africans, we cannot spell that first word called united. we can come here and bask in what other people have united. I mean, Pambe Pumi, as I now call it, it is not only, Pambe Pumi. Pamba is raid, steal, rob.
Pamba means stealing.
Pamba, yeah.
Okay, Fumi.
Pumi is wealth and heritage and grace. And Pambe Pumi, in the real translation that I had in mind, was the raiders of other people's tombs and the thieves of other people's wealth.
So that is the new name you have given the United Kingdom.
It's no longer United Kingdom, it's now called Pambe Pumi.
The raiders of other people's tombs.
And wealth and heritage and treasures. Yeah, so basically they are tomb raiders.
Borders on the runway, that therefore is not just a picture I am painting, it is something we saw on the screens, and it could only take the death of Baba Amoro Odinga to witness that kind of spirit. Therefore, if we consider the late Odinga as a Pan-Africanist, it is not so much of what he said about himself, but it is so much of what was said about him and what he actually did.
I don't even want to start with him. Let me start with his father.
His father.
His father was a true Pan-Africanist, and he put it to test. Because when Jomo Kenyatta was arrested by the colonialists, they came to him. They said, let's make a deal. We give you the presidency of Kenya. We have already arrested Kenyatta. And the man said, no. In Africa, we don't do that.
In Africa, we don't do that.
We don't do that.
That's a very big statement.
In Africa, we don't do that. In Africa, we don't do that.
Now, he has not died. The spirit lives on.
Odinga has not died.
Raila Amolo Odinga has not died. He has been transformed.
He has transitioned to another life.
He has transitioned.
Free your mind now. Be part of the People's Pan-African Parliament. The Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
The Pan-African Weekly Roundup. My name is Andrew Irumba Katusabe, your speaker. This is the weekly roundtable every Monday here at the Satellite Hotel in Kisasi. My comrades, my usual suspects, Comrade Daniel Rugarama Karukiko. He's a civil rights lawyer. He's the chairman of Pan-African Movement, the Uganda chapter. Comrade Karukiko, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, brother, and very good morning.
Karukiko, they told you have been in Congo for the last 3 weeks. Anybody who has been into Congo, at least one thing that he doesn't forget to come back with here in Kampala is gold. What happened?
First of all, it is true. I was in DRC for about 22 days. I came back not long ago, and around the same time I was there is when they were passing, they were convicting and sentencing the former president
what a joke.
Joseph Kabila. And
don't you think that was a joke?
Well, you see the politics of Africa again, and we shall be touching a lot of it now in our discussion. The politics of Africa have been extremely troubled because they are not our own politics. They are politics that have greatly and continue to be greatly influenced by the external forces. Even what looks and sounds like African is not ours. So that is why, like it was said by Kaisane, one of the greatest in the South African history, there has got to be a rebirth of Africa. And Africa must be reborn through very serious, hard thinking, whereby new ideas must be brought on front, in order to tackle what we actually think are our own problems.
I have asked you a simple question. Do you know that he has not answered my question? Have you heard him, Professor? He has not answered a single question from what I asked him. He is talking for the next 3 minutes. My answer is not given. I asked a simple question. Everybody who goes to Congo comes back with gold. Where is the gold? Now you hear how he has rotated me. You say the gold is here or there is no gold. We move on.
Apparently your question has been answered, but just because you wanted the specific answer. Nevertheless, gold is not in every part of DRC.
So you were in a part where there is no gold.
But where I was, and what had taken me there was not into gold. I believe next time, since I'm going back in January, I will endeavor to...
You interest yourself in gold-rich area?
To bring a sample, at least some few grams for our speaker here.
Okay, next to him is Professor Alenyo George William. Just like Comrade Daniel, Professor Alenyo is also a civil rights lawyer. He is actually a former attorney to the former Chief Justice of Uganda. He was first, Bat Katorero was first the Attorney General. The Attorney General, then he became Chief Justice. But he was his legal assistant when he was the Attorney General of Uganda. Professor Alenyo William, I'm glad to host you again here.
Thank you.
You can say hi to our viewers, and maybe in that week that we just...
Good morning, viewers.
What could have caught your eye in the previous week, apart from the Odinga that we're going to discuss? Any other thing? Because we have, for instance, I have heard the Madagascar has a new president, and Madagascar is Africa. Isn't that of interest to you guys?
I think one of the most interesting things for me last week was the collapse of the Malagasy president, Raila. You know, the controversy of Raila when he claimed to have invented the COVID medicine. You remember? And there was an assassination attempt following that. He had begun to lose ground. But what is very important is that this now is the last collapse of French sphere of influence in Africa.
French hegemony.
Exactly. Actually, the new president has said they must cut the past from France. So France is losing Africa bit by bit. That's to me the most important event.
Comrade Obama, what caught your eye in the last week, previous week?
Well, I have been seeing a lot of internal demonstrations against President Trump, and they seem to be increasing. In a manner of speaking, I can say that there is trouble now in paradise, because America, which claims to be the epitome of democracy, is increasing on the edge. The leadership in the White House is on the edge, because contrary to the picture that the Trump administration, CNN, BBC, Fox News, etc. is painting of solving problems in Israel, Ukraine, where they are experiencing a great of discomfort. And two, I am seeing a lot of the posturing, you know, this hegemonic America is continuing now troubling the waters of the Caribbean, whereby they have mounted a lot of pressure by taking warships with they call the people who are engaged from Venezuela,
Drug dealers.
who are drug cartels. But every available information, even from the official websites of America, show that there is nothing like a drug cartel anywhere from Venezuela. Once again, what really comes out is that for us who have consistently told the world that United States of America, the Pentagon, the White House, be it Republican or Democrat, are always occupied by warmongers who are full of themselves, and they would always want to put out a picture of the head boy of the world, whereby if they are denied the resources, especially like it is the case now in Venezuela, like it is the case in Cuba, then they will always want to make sure that they fight off that regime. And finally is what you have just mentioned here in Madagascar. My opinion is that with the collapse of the leadership of in Madagascar, when there was an invasion of that COVID-19 remedy, which was highly popularized by the late Dr. Pombe Magufuli, I was excited and my spirits were dampened when, as usual and as expected, the Western hegemony with the World Health Organization started claiming all sorts of things, patent rights, etc., and they ended up frustrating the efforts of the Madagascar government to export that remedy. But we all know on the African continent, after denying us the so-called COVID-19 remedies, we ended up relying on our own herbal concoctions, like it was in case of Uganda, and that is how actually prevented us. Plus our God-given high levels of immunity, but we all know what happened to our brothers and sisters, although they don't want us to call themselves brothers and sisters, and we don't give a damn. They can be brothers and sisters to any other person we wish, but literally they were dying. Even when we know that the highest drug with the highest efficacy manufactured by the Cubans was most effective, through the American cartel, they denied that drug from reaching the rest of the world. So that also, the events in Madagascar captured my attention. And of course here in Uganda, it is the usual politics, people going around claiming that they are going to solve people's problems. Others are promising of consolidating the gains so far achieved. Others are talking about removing the present government and establishing a new one. What I can say, all said and done, is that when we finally had the death of Baba, the son of Jaramogi Odinga, Baba Odinga, the entire world was caught influenza. And I think it is a topic for today. I'm glad that we are going to be discussing.
Okay, comrade, thank you so much for that insightful conversation. Now, comrades, Raila Amolo Odinga, the Pan-African torchbearer of his time, a statesman, a reformist, and a liberation icon whose ideals transcended Kenyan borders. His passing, that is Raila Odinga Amolo, marks the end of an era for East African political consciousness. Did Odinga's political and Pan-African legacy live up to the continental vision he espoused? He's a son of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, one of Kenya's founding fathers, and a socialist aligned with Nkrumah, Nyerere, and Nasser. Raila inherited this Pan-Africanist ideology, advocated for African self-determination, unity, and resistance to neo-colonial economic manipulation. A vocal proponent of the East African Community EAC integration agenda, pushed for common markets, borderless trade, and political federation. He consistently called for African solutions to African problems, opposing Western conditionalities on African governance. Continentally, Odinga served as the African Union High Representative for Infrastructure Development, focusing on interlinking African economies through continental transport and energy networks under the Agenda 2063. Odinga championed the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, as a tool for economic liberation. He promoted Pan-African solidarity in peace and democracy efforts from South Sudan to DRC. His rhetoric and activism paralleled the visions of Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara, and Julius Nyerere in pursuit of continental sovereignty and unity. He advocated for technological emancipation and industrial self-reliance for Africa. He endured detention and torture for opposing Kenya's one-party dictatorship, symbolizing resilience in pursuit of democracy. He ushered in devolution and people-centered governance, instrumental in fostering reconciliation after the 2007-2008 post-election crisis through the handshake initiative with President Uhuru Kenyatta. He served as Prime Minister between 2008 and 2013, advancing infrastructural modernization and economic recovery. He advocated transparency and corruption reforms and institutional accountability in governance. He championed technical education and industrial innovation as pillars of Kenya's growth. Holder of multiple honorary doctorates, recognizing his leadership, democracy, and reform efforts. He is regarded internationally as one of Africa's elder statesmen of democracy and reform. Frequent participant at Pan-African forums, global governance dialogues, and democracy summits. Odinga, as a bridge between liberation politics and contemporary African reformist. His political philosophy: no man, no nation is free until Africa is free. No man, no nation is free until Africa is free. He embodied Pan-African perseverance, blending nationalism with continental consciousness. Ladies and gentlemen, we are reflecting on how his ideals can be institutionalized in the next wave of African leadership. Comrade Daniel Rugarama Karuchiko. I want to begin with Professor Lenyo. I have reasons. Number one is that I myself traveled with Professor Lenyo, who is seated here, to Kenya to look for Raila Odinga. And while we needed him, that time we were organizing the Pan-African Pyramid Group Awards for that year. Which year was that? 2021?
2022.
2022.
The election year.
Yes, we were organizing Pan-African Awards for 2022. And somebody came and tipped me off. He said, Odinga deserves to be awarded as a Pan-African. When do you want to award these people? Only when they are dead. This is what the man was telling me. I reached out to Professor Lenyo. There is something that connects Alenyo here in Uganda and the Luo in Kenya. The Luos in Kenya. There is something that connects them by nature. The Luos in Uganda, the Luos actually across Africa. They are connected somehow. And Odinga happens to be one of them. So there is also something that Alenyo was driving in that line, recollecting their path. So we took a plane. We went to Kenya. Unfortunately, 2022 was the climax of their campaigning period.
August, actually. That
August,
month.
yes. So we were unsuccessful at time because his handlers told us, Raina, the guy is actually, you are in Kenya, Nairobi, but the guy is like, I don't know how many kilometers from Kenya, from Nairobi, at a campaign rally. And so meeting him would be extremely hard now. So we came back. Then his handlers promised that they would organize another meeting for us to go back and meet him and award him. But of course, as time went on, I think he became more busy and his handlers could not get him on track again for us to award him. I can show you even the letter that we wrote and went with, a letter here, introducing this idea to Amolo. And they received the letter. His office received the letter, they acknowledged receiving the letter, and Odinga got the message, but we never got an opportunity to interface with him physically. That's why I want to begin with him. Because there is a lot that Alenyo can speak about Odinga, the Pan-African. So without wasting a lot of time, I am a witness that traveled with Professor Alenyo to Nairobi to look for Odinga to award him as a Pan-African before he dies. Now I am here thinking, What a mess. The man might be awarded when he's no longer alive, yet actually had an opportunity to award him when he was alive. But it's not our making. Professor Lee.
It's not our making, and as it was said at his funeral, the king is dead, but the crown is alive.
Yes.
We can still award him posthumously. But I want to say that one of the aspects why Raila Odinga was mourned deeply and truthfully is because he was not only a Pan-Africanist in word but in action. You see, the problem in Africa now is everybody claiming to be a Pan-Africanist because it is fashionable. It's very fashionable to call yourself a Pan-Africanist. And this is what I was telling people the other time. We have the chairman Pan-African movement here. If Comrade Rukarama called a meeting now about Pan-Africanism, few people would come. They don't even understand it. They don't even understand.
But they want to call themselves Pan-Africanists.
Exactly. They don't understand why Comrade Rukarama is moving to Congo, is moving where. Now, this is a gentleman who put that thing to test. How did he do it? I don't even want to start with him. Let me start with his father.
His father.
His father was a true Pan-Africanist. And he put it to test. Because when Jomo Kenyatta was arrested by the colonialists, they came to him. They said, let's make a deal. We give you the presidency of Kenya. We have already arrested Kenyatta. And the man said, no. In Africa, we don't do that.
In Africa, we don't do that.
We don't do that.
That's a very big statement.
In Africa, we don't do that. In Africa, we don't do that.
It can be done elsewhere, but not in Africa.
Yes. He said, Jomo Kenyatta is my brother. Jomo Kenyatta must first come out. And then you negotiate with me. That truth, I am very confident, will put one of the seed of Jaramogi into the presidency of Kenya one time. One time, that truthfulness will be rewarded. We have seen that Raila has gone, he has not been rewarded, but in his fourth, third, fifth generation, there must be a President Odinga.
May that prophecy come to pass.
Amen. Then it came to him. I have an interview which he did about how much he has put Pan-Africanist movements and ideas first. Just last year, 2 years, when we went, the next year there was a Gen Z demonstration. I tell you, very few people know that that demonstration had actually succeeded because they had overrun parliament and Ruto could not have any way forward. Ruto ran to Baba, said, now what do we do? They made negotiations. He accepted to dissolve cabinet. And much as Raila had not organized the youth listened to him. He told them to stop. And Raila, I have the interview here, Raila said, if he had not stopped the Gen Z, right now Kenya would be like South Sudan. He gave an example of South Sudan and Somalia. That is the second example. Third example, it is very clear that in 2006, Raila was rigged of the elections. People are now confessing how they turned the DRC, the declaration forms, especially in Mount Kenya.
DR forms.
DR forms. It is so much admitted. But when they called him, they said, now, can you take the prime ministership? He accepted to become a prime minister, to compromise in the interest of Kenya. He accepted to play the role of prime minister, and the person who had cheated him, he allowed him to be president, Mwai Kibaki. They became friends.
Unifier.
Yes. Because he put the test of being an African. He said, in Africa, we don't do that. That was Pan-Africanism. Compromise. The other example, when Uhuru again defeated him. When the results started to come out and evidence of rigging started to come out, again, he did an Pan-African thing. He made a handshake the African handshake with the Uhuru. He said in Africa we don't fight for powers because we remain brothers. He was ridiculed as somebody running after Nusumukati. But Raila was compromising in the interest of Africa. He said, he told Uhuru, you take it. That's why let me tell you that you see people like Uhuru were really mourning a brother, almost in tears. Comes Ruto, an enemy, they compromise on the Gen Z. Ruto was actually shed tears while mourning the man. So there is a big message you should learn, even as Ugandans. And I'll bring the message to Ugandans. You see, if we don't compromise, then we're not playing African politics. You see, we're Africans. And you know, Raila comes from a community of the Luo, who are natural compromists. Luo, we naturally compromise. Do you know that Uganda would not be independent?
I didn't know.
In 1962, if a Luo had not compromised?
Who was that?
Obote. He compromised. There was a UPC and KY alliance. Buganda had refused to be part of Uganda and they said no. For us, we want federal, we want ourselves. There was a Luo.
We want to be an independent country within a country.
A country. There was a Luo who went to Lancaster with them.
You're in the middle of Lake Victoria.
Yes.
You say, me, I want to be called something else, not
Different.
I am not part of Lake Victoria. But you are an island in Lake Victoria.
Exactly.
But you are saying, I don't want anything to do with Lake Victoria.
Yes. So you see, that
is
Pan-Africanist. Yes, that's Uganda. The Pan-Africanist Obote compromised. He said no. What do the Baganda want? The Baganda said they want their independence on a day before Uganda. Did you know that Uganda got independence on 8th October?
Independence from
Britain. To give them independence first,
then
before
Uganda.
Yes. And Obote said fine. What else do you
have
it? We want to have a federal government and the first president of Uganda should be Muganda.
Mutesa.
Obote said you have it. So can we now have independence? Yes. So without the compromise of Obote, there would not have been independence. And Obote was trained by the Odinga family. Yes, Obote was a casual worker in Kenya. Yes, in the sugarcane plantation.
Sugarcane plantation?
Yes, it's
of Odinga family?
No, there is the Mumia's Sugar Works. He joined the King African National Union with people like Odok Agwings, lawyer Odok Agwings. And he learned the art of compromise from Raila's father. And by the way, as I tell you that all of Obote's politics, even Obote 1 and Obote 2, had a link with Kenya. The most trusted soldiers, people like Kano Tieno, his cook, they were Luo from Kenya. Because it is the Luo of Kenya who escorted him to start the politics of Uganda. Now, what do we learn as opposition in Uganda? Politics is about compromise. Putin has put it very recently, very well, that politics is about three things: compromise, compromise, and compromise. And as we go to 2026 elections, I want to appeal to the Ugandan opposition that the most important thing is that we should take the lesson from Raila and compromise.
But now, in Kenya, people are celebrating Odinga as a reformist, and part of that is that he would compromise on certain positions.
Yes.
In Uganda, how come Besigye is a very admirer of Odinga?
Yes.
In fact, he has missed burying his friend.
Yes.
But how come Besigye is not practicing his mentors' compromise tactics?
Exactly.
How come here in Uganda we cherish Kano Besigye for refusing to compromise, and we demonize Mao? Is Mao a Luo also?
Yes.
Mao is also a Luo.
Mao is a Luo.
We are demonizing Mao, another Luo from Uganda, for compromising to find a middle ground.
I was going to come to Mao. I was going to come to Mao, Because I had made a statement.
So there's a correlation there.
Yes, I had made a statement how Luo in Uganda we compromise. I gave you the...
It means you're
you're very strong Pan-Africanist. I told you how Obote compromised independence negotiations. Then, in 1985, Tito Okello was the president of Uganda, a Luo. He compromised with Museveni. He held the Nairobi peace talks in Kenya to compromise. It didn't work out, but as a Luo, he had done his part. It now brings us to Mao. He's also a Luo, walking the steps of Odinga. He has compromised. His ambition of becoming president in Uganda, he has humbled himself to become a minister in the government, which he has been fighting since his university days. As a person who was with him from secondary school in Amirango, I know Mao's dream has always been to be president of Uganda. So when he takes a back seat, doesn't even contest, that's compromise, and it's very good, and it's very low. Another person compromising is Akena. He sees his wife coming to work under NRM. All these are Luo compromising. We have another prominent Luo, Olaro Tuno, who was at the United Nations. His record of compromise is very, very much recorded. There are so many things at the United Nations which were called the Otunu Compromise. It would bring an idea. So I think as we go to 2026, let's not overmourn Odinga without taking a leaf from him.
Compromise.
Let us compromise. Look at the situation in DRC Congo where you have been. Let us compromise. What is it that Tshisekedi wants?
This man has refused to compromise for
Yes.
some gold.
He should compromise some gold. What is it that Kabila wants? By the way, what is it that Kabila wants? You have been president already. So let us compromise. What does he want? What does Tshisekedi want? What does anybody want? Let's compromise. Let's be Pan-Africanists.
Comrade Daniel Garama Karuchiko, you've had our elder, our senior here. What is it that you learn from Odinga's life or legacy? As a Pan-African especially. Comrade Professor Lenyo highlights for us the importance of compromise. That's one thing he highlights very well.
If you are a weekend historian,
I am a full-time historian, so I'm not part of what you're going to describe.
I'm talking
To those weekenders.
public out there.
Okay.
And I'm not taking anything away from them as far as their credentials to grasp historical facts and analyze some of these issues is concerned. I'm simply saying that even amongst the strong people, you will always find the fact that we are not at the same length. I'm saying if you are not an everyday student of history and you have not dedicated time to analyze some of these things so deeply, you may reach a conclusion that the son of Jaramogi, now the late Baba Raila Amoro Odinga, was actually not a Pan-African. You may reach that conclusion. Why do I say so? I say so because you remember in the words of one of our great-grandfathers in the Pan-African journey, Thomas Sankara, said that if you see the enemy, the colonialist, praise me, then you know that I have let you down. Oftentimes, we have had the United States of America with her cousins, Europe, the leaders from that political divide, praise, including even at a time when Baba Odinga declared and he saw himself in Because is this senior colleague of ours who saw him in
Orengo.
no, this brother of ours, the lawyer. I will come to him. When he saw him in as people's president, we have had the people's president also here in Uganda. And where he is now tells you the difference between Ugandan politics so far and Kenyan politics. The levels of tolerance that my senior brother has been talking about cannot be at the same level. The son of Jaramogi, now the late Papa Odinga Amoro, who passed away about 6 or 7 days ago and was buried yesterday, sent shockwaves, not just in Kenya, and you will permit me to give this picture to our audience to show you that probably this was even beyond, because we were there when Mwai Kibaki was buried. We witnessed. We were there maybe save for the death of Jomo Kenyatta. You can compare that with what we have just witnessed with Baba Amoro Odinga. Immediately after breaking the news by the President, Dr. Samuel Ruto, that Baba had passed away in one of the hospitals in India, the entire Kenya and Africa as a continent was thrown in a state of confusion. And I say so because a lot of media outlets were all buzzed with that news, and on social media a lot of comments were flowing in like the waters of the Nile. And in Kenya in particular, there were a lot of unsettling events. To the extent that when his body, the remains arrived at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, the amount of people, you will permit me use that English, the amount of people that were flooding into the airport, I have not seen, apart from in Afghanistan, when the Americans were leaving and everybody was thrown into the airport.
Celebrate.
Just others pick the next plane, others force themselves to board, and even where they didn't have the boarding passes. What I saw at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, it's as if the entire Nairobi was at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. The borders were at the runaway tarmac. The Jomo Kenyatta International Airport was closed in coming and take-off planes for a solid 3 hours. Do you know what that means? Every international safety airport breaches were made on that day. Unauthorized person accessing the plane, accessing the airport. God forbid, I don't know whether they accessed also the cockpits and what have you. They were taking selfies on the plane, they were borders on the runway. That, therefore, is not just a picture I am painting, it is something we saw on the screens, and it could only take the death of Baba Amoro Odinga to witness that kind of spectacle. Therefore, if we consider the late Odinga as a Pan-Africanist, it is not so much of what he said about himself, but it is so much of what was said about him and what he actually did. In Pan-Africanism, selfishness is one indicator that such a person is not a Pan-Africanist.
Allow me first make sure that Bishop Maponga is hearing us.
Please.
If you could allow me the latitude.
Please.
Since I'm your speaker, I will not refuse. My elder brother, Comrade Joshua Maponga, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
You can? Very good. Where are you disturbing the African spirits from right now?
From Rundonda.
Rundonda. Rundonda is where?
Rundonda is in Pambetfumi.
Rundonda is where?
Pambetfumi.
Fandetumi.
Pambetfumi. The raiders of other people's tombs.
Raiders of other people's tombs.
Yeah. It used to be called UK.
It used to be called, you're in UK. But you have named it Fandetumi. Okay, I wanted just to bring you in because Comrade Daniel Grama was down on the floor, and also online is Professor Humphrey Ojwang Jeremiah from Kenya. Professor Ojwang Jeremiah from Kenya, you can also say hi to our viewers. Professor
Hello?
Ojwang, yes.
How are you?
I am okay, Professor. I am good, but not good as we should after the demise of our elder, Comrade Raila Amolo Odinga. And this is a tribute to Amolo Odinga as a Pan-African. So we are talking about Odinga the Pan-African. If there is anything you could remember about Odinga, but I will ask you to hold it there and we allow our comrade Daniel Grama to finish with his presentation, then I come online and officially ask you to make your presentation. So I will ask you to listen in.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So Daniel Grama, you can go ahead. Hey, by the way, before we go, here there is also Professor Alenyo George William. Your comrade professor is right here also at the platform listening to you and watching you.
Thank you. Welcome, George William Alenyo, professor from Alur Jonam.
Alur Jonam.
Alur Jonam, like Albert.
Hey.
Nam Onek Bonyo.
Okay. Thank you. So let's go back to Daniel Garama.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, sir, and I'm extremely happy and humbled to have our senior brothers on board. I am surprised that our own brother Joshua Maponga has not been disturbed in that little kingdom called the UK.
Little kingdom.
It's a small thing.
And he has renamed it. I'm forgetting the name. He has given it a name, but literally meaning that somebody who disturbs the tombs of others.
Oh, yeah.
Raiding other people's tombs.
I see. I say so because of many reasons, but I know that when you are extremely grounded in the Pan-African affairs and you dare the devil, you speak the truth, the neo-colonialist does not like truth. And it's no wonder that the higher you go in terms of propagating truth and telling it to those who are actually perpetuating their wrongs, then the greater your chances of being inconvenienced when you travel in their countries. Sometimes they actually don't allow you even to step there. That's what a sinner does.
Okay, let's go back to Odinga,
now,
the Pan-African.
Our senior brother, the late Baba Odinga, is, in my opinion, or he may not have to meet all the credentials of a Pan-Africanist, because we are not looking at an angel, we are looking at a human being. whatever other faults of his he may have had, like he has been accused by some sections of the community of being praised by the white man, and they say therefore that one seriously discounts him when it comes to the true credentials of being a Pan-Africanist. The same thing that was said of Nelson Mandela, that he actually cut a deal and therefore he cannot be a true Pan-African, even when we know that he rubbed shoulders with our people who are high in the acronyms of Pan-Africanism, but still he is being discredited at that level. But all that is human. The truth of the matter is that the elements of compromise, whereby although we suspect highly, but you see in our legal world, no amount of suspicion can amount to evidence to either invalidate or validate anything. Therefore, although we suspect so highly that on a number of occasions Odinga was cheated out of the Kenyan presidency, even when he made an attempt at the African Union as the head of the Secretariat, he's being accused that he actually was taking presidentialism. He hoped that he was going to be the president of the entire Africa.
That's where he was actually coming. Right now, the whole African continent, and you also take a minute, Professor Leño, the whole African continent is mourning, and the entire world is mourning a Pan-African, a statesman. That's how they have described him. But when this Pan-African and the statesman offered himself to serve the entire continent at the AU,
they denied him.
They denied him the opportunity, and somebody who took over, God forbid,
was little known compared to the, I say so without...
so is that a sense of betrayal on behalf of the continent to Odinga?
That tells you the nature of geopolitics. The nature of geopolitics, with the lenses through which you looked at Baba Odinga, you as a Ugandan and a Pan-African, is not what is supposed to be taken at the African Union. And the African Union, which for you, you know, and me and a professor here, is not the African Union which the white man wants at Addis Ababa. And therefore, the likes of Baba Odinga taking the chairmanship of African Union is not good news in the ears of the neo-colonialists.
Exactly.
That brand of Pan-Africanism is not needed.
So you are saying that the African Union elections were compromised or influenced by the Western powers
who have got interests in the affairs of Africa. This Africa, you are in Africa, you call yourself an African, but it is not yours. The owners who are controlling it in the capitals of Europe and United States of America, the ones who are controlling the means of production through the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. Joshua Maponga has time and again told you that the problem is this democracy we are talking about, actually at the risk of being misunderstood. He said we need dictators. Anybody hearing him who does not see through some of these things will think that our brother Joshua Maponga is proposing that the entire Africa should be littered with dictatorship. But the point he was making, if I understood him correctly, is that some of these niceties, some of these good speeches, so-called democratic tenets that we are running our countries on, are just hogwash. We need to take our continent to another level by hook or crook, by making sure that we deny the imperialists an opportunity to keep manipulating us. I therefore want to conclude here by saying that Baba Odinga Amoro is the kind of Pan-African we missed at the African Union. We should have given him a shot to see the kind of changes he was going to bring there. Maybe our packaging or the forces, the invisible forces, were much higher than our packaging, and he ended up losing it. When it comes to the Kenyan politics, he from time to time exhibited the attributes of a true statesman who was willing to compromise for the bigger picture and the good of the Kenyan people, the East African community, and the African continent. And those are some of the things which we are lacking on the African continent, because Lake Chunwachebe wrote in his book, The Problem of Nigeria, which could have as well been can as well be translated the problem of Africa, leadership. We wanted and we still need a leadership that sees through the problems of Africa, proposes the African solution, because we can solve almost 100% of our problems. And when we say so, we do not at any one given time imply that we should build an enclave economy and we close the rest of the continents from cooperating with us. We need cooperation. We don't need imperialism.
Comrade Professor Alenya, I'm going to give you 1 minute to also give your view on the fact that Raila Amolo Odinga, the person now being celebrated as an African giant in Pan-Africanism, a statesman, a unifier, a compromiser, when he offered himself to serve at the continental level, his Kenyan brothers themselves were the first to oppose his candidature. The Kenyan first, before Ugandans and others came in, the Kenyan first. Now, the comrade here is saying, no, his leadership at the AU could have been foiled by the imperialist influences. But we saw Kenyans themselves writing against his candidature. Alenyo,
I think Comrade Rugarama made a very good point. He said that his leadership should have been given a try, a shot. But I want to say the reason that Raila did not get the African Union chairmanship is the very same reason why he could not get the presidency of Kenya. He is not a person who compromises on what he's fighting. He compromises only when the future, the stability of the state is at stake. That's why he compromises. But he does not compromise on fighting against neocolonialism. This is a person whose father was a socialist, aligned with the East. Jaramogi Odinga was a socialist. One of the reasons why Jaramogi was also fought was that Kenyatta became a capitalist, but he remained as a socialist. So the neo-colonialists have never forgotten that once Odinga became president of Kenya or chairman of African Union, this man would fight for Africa. So they fought him because they know he would fight for Africa. He would not cut any deals in fighting for Africa. That's what I think.
okay, very good.
My elder brother, my senior, my mwalimu, Joshua Marara Maponga is online. And Maponga is not right now talking from Zimbabwe. He's talking from United Kingdom, what you call UK. But he has a new name for that little country called UK. I will allow him to start by introducing the new name he has given that country. And then he goes ahead to give us a brief about what he knows about Odinga, the Pan-African. My elder brother, Joshua Maponga, you're welcome. The floor is yours.
They call it the United Kingdom.
But for you,
and the first problem we have is that as Africans, we cannot spell that first word called united. We can come here and bask in what other people have united. I mean, Pambe Pumi, as I now call it, it is not only, Pambe Pumi, Pamba is rape, steal, rob.
Pambe means stealing.
Pamba, yeah.
Okay, Fumi.
Fumi is wealth and heritage and grace. And
Okay.
Pambed Fumi, in the real translation that I had in mind, was the raiders of other people's tombs and the thieves of other people's wealth.
So that is the new name you have given the United Kingdom.
It's no longer United Kingdom, it's now called Pambed Fumi.
The raiders of other people's tombs.
And wealth and heritage and treasures.
Oh.
Yeah, so basically they're tomb raiders.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So
They get that name. They get that name from their first arrival in Egypt, and their behaviors in the tombs, and they were raiding in the Great Zimbabwe, at our sacred site of our ancestors, there, where they stole the art, the soft stones, the bones, the potteries, the craft. They even killed people and cut off their heads and took them to their museums here. So when I arrived in the museum and I saw all those skulls, and those skulls don't belong to their people, I knew that they had taken them from other people's graves.
okay. Fair enough. So Bishop Maponga, we are talking about Odinga, the fallen son of Africa, Odinga the Pan-African, Odinga the statesman, Odinga the unifier, Odinga the great compromiser for the great people of Kenya and Africa. We want to begin with, what do you remember about Odinga that the continent of Africa should take on?
My initial interactions with the character of Odinga was a misunderstood propaganda ideology, where during the wars and the demonstrations in Kenya, and where hundreds of people were dying, the world out there was meant to understand Odinga as this unreasonable leader who is sending his people to the streets, tribal people to the streets, to go and cause havoc and incite violence and murders and stuff like that, which was, now that I'm grown up, which I now understand was a propaganda position of blackmailing a leader and making sure that he is not acceptable as a revolutionary. It's only in my old age that I understood why Odinga would not be integrated into the Kenyan government, except once when it was a peace treaty just to make him a vice president, but as a lollipop, not as a transformational leader. For me, Odinga represents the diversity of our African tribes and clans, that if any government wants peace, it must be inclusive. It's in the same direction that we can understand the politics of Rwanda, the politics of Uganda, the politics of Zimbabwe, and many other African countries, Eritrea, and the politics of Somalia, politics of Nigeria. So it's the same thing for me, where in Nigeria it could be a Christian thing, where the Muslims and the Christians, the Igbos and the Hausas, and Kenya could be the Luos and the Kikuyus, Zimbabwe could be the Shonas and the Veles, and the Hutus and the Tutsis, the Nkoles, Banyankole, and and I think the white man has succeeded very, very intelligently to make people that are in one geographical location to classify themselves not according to their soil, but according to their languages. As such, people can be drinking from the same river, people can be worshipping at the same mountain, at Mount Kirinyaga. People can call their ancestors from Elgon and Kirinyaga, which is Mount Kenya. But immediately they drink the same water, they eat the same fruit, they walk on the same rivers, When they get home, then they begin to deal with politics as if they are different people. Yeah, and that is the reason why he could not be incorporated into the Kenyan politics. And the worst part, I remember me and you, we did a show when they wanted to send him up into the Africa Union. And I was blatantly clear that Kenya was not supposed to give us Odinga at Africa Union when they were not willing to incorporate him into their local politics. They should not throw away their problems to Africa when they cannot solve their problems within the Kenyan environment. But as an elder, he earns my greatest respect. I actually this year or early next year had an appointment with him, which we had organized with another lady there, another youth, to come and see him. But he is a symbol of resistance, a symbol of African indigenous rulers and guardians and leaders whom the colonial democracy cannot tolerate. Indigenous leaders who are culturally awake. That's why up to date, except for one or two countries like Eswatini and a little bit here and there in Nigeria, where you would find indigenous clothes and indigenous cultures being included as part of parliament. Because these parliaments are nothing but puppets of colonial governance. And to date, there's no government in Africa, if not 80% of those governments that I respect, because they go to parliament not to uphold their cultures and traditions, but they go there to uphold the culture, the traditions, the laws, the behavior, the governance of the colonial system. And the fear of Raila Odinga in the Kenyan government was that the Mau Mau wars of indigenous people knowing who they are would be resurrected in the Kenyan environment, and a bigger revolution than what Kenyatta and Uhuru were claiming to be would be escalated into the Kenyans becoming ungovernable in the face of the colonial system. I thank you.
Thank you very much, my elder, our elder Mwalimu Bishop Joshua Marara Maponga from Zimbabwe, but right now in UK, which is called Pamba Fumi, the thieves or the people that dance on others' graves. Comrade Professor Humphrey Jeremiah Ojwang from Nairobi, Kenya. You were here in Kampala, to be precise, on 30th August, together with our other elders, Professor Lenyo George William here, Joshua Maponga from Zimbabwe, Ayoki Mathi from US, and all other comrades. What brought us together here in Kampala was the spirit of Pan-Africanism. And you and I know that we have lost just one of us, one of our elders, in this struggle for united Africa. What better words can you use to describe the now late Odinga?
Let me just say this, that Africa, East Africa, and Kenya have lost a great son of the soil. But I want to put it this way. In African spirituality, we move from one stage to the next. So those are called life circles.
Life circles.
Yes, you're born, you are a toddler, you go through your infancy, and from infancy you go through your childhood, and then from your childhood you move into your early teens and adulthood. Of course, you go to your later adulthood and you become an old man with white hair, like myself.
Like I am seeing white hair.
Yes. And then, of course, they call you an elder. They co-opt you into a council of elders, like the Luo Council of Elders, or the Toru Council of Elders, or the Buganda Council of Elders, or the Shona Council of Elders. I can see my brother Maponga, Shona, or the Bele. Yes, so from Council of Eldership, okay, so from eldership, when you pass on, you are elevated into ancestorship. From eldership into ancestorship. So Raila Amolo Odinga at age 80 was an elder statesman in Kenya and in East Africa and in Africa at large, but he has now been elevated into eldership. He has joined, the ancestorship category, which means he has gone to the next world. Now, he has not died. The spirit lives on.
Odinga
So,
has not died.
Raila Amolo Odinga has not died. He has been
He
transformed or
has transitioned to another life.
he has transitioned to another life, an afterlife. So, all is not lost. His words, his leadership, enigmatic leadership, and his actions remain alive. The spirit remains alive. Like they say in Buganda Kingdom, that the Kabakas do not die, but they are translated, they're elevated, they disappear into another realm of existence. So Raila Odinga has not died. He has not died. This is not the end of Raila Odinga. And his father is alive because we have his book, 1966, Not Yet Uhuru. In fact, on my desk, I have Not Yet Uhuru. Kenneth Kaunda did not die. I have his book, Zambia Shall Be Free. Kwame Nkrumah is not dead. I have his autobiography on my desk as I'm talking to you now. His autobiography was simply Ghana, an autobiography, which means he embodied the spirit of Ghana. Same with Kaunda, he embodied of Zambia. Same with Odinga, not yet Uhuru, which means we are not yet free because Africa has always been underdeveloped by external forces. And let me cut my story short. Raila Amolo Odinga is gone, age 80, but his elder brother, who is 8 old, has taken over his mantle. So he's now the leader, the political leader. He's a senator. He's a senator in the National Assembly of Kenya. In Kenya we have a bicameral system, Senate and the National Assembly. So both houses are called the. His brother is in the Senate of Kenya, Senator Dr. Oburu Oginga, who is very well known to me as well. He has taken over as the acting or interim party leader of the Orange. I will pause there and let you continue. Thank you, my dear brother Andrew Irum.
Thank you so much, Professor Humphrey Jeremiah Ojwang from Nairobi, Kenya. Joshua Maponga, before we come back to our audience here, do you have anything to add or something you picked from the presentation of Professor Jeremiah Ojwang that you'd like to add on?
When you are sitting with the elders, you learn to wash your hands. So it must have been the opposite. I should have spoken first. Then he concludes. I cannot conclude on his speech. I think that book, all I can mention is that if you need any support in terms of that book, I will be more than willing to contribute also. And this is the first birth that we are beginning to see, that at the departure of Odinga, we already have a project that is being born amongst us to keep the memory, the history, and the struggle alive. So we eagerly look forward to welcoming the rebirth of Raila Odinga through the written pages of the professor here, some of the stuff that he has written. I'll be very eager to read whatever was held. I thank you.
Thank you so much. I come back now down to finally, I will begin with you, Professor Alenyo George William. From the presentation of the two comrades online.
I want to thank Professor Ojwang. I'm very moved by the African aspect of life. I've taken that thing of late very seriously. Late for what, Professor? In Africa, I've always bothered with that thing. I don't want to be called the late. So today you have given me a very good idea. Late for what? I always feel very bad that somebody is going to call me the late William Alenyo. It has not been easy, but today you have given the justification that in Africa we should not call our parents late, we should not call our brothers late, we should not call our sisters late, not even our ancestors. You see, Africa is brainwashed. We call our ancestors late, then we call them demonic connection, we pray to cut ancestral, ancestral curses away from our ancestors. These are the things we do in the name of religion. But I liked what Jaramogi Jr. said. I picked it yesterday, but one. When he said, the words of the dead are more important than the words of the living.
Hey, somebody said it.
Odinga's son. He said, the words of the dead are more important
than the words of
the living. Because you see, the living are with us here. They can tongue twist.
Yes.
They say something today, tomorrow they change. But exactly. So the African, the words of the dead, the words your mother left to you, the words your father left to you, those words are words that should guide you. The words they left. So I'm very happy that Jaramogi Odinga left us something which we are going to read. 60 years and it is not yet Uhuru. And I'm going to me and you, Irumba, and the good thing, Professor Ojwang, the panel here is very good. We have the chairman, Rugarama, the chairman of Pan-African movement. We are going to task him, the Uganda chapter, we are going to task him to make sure that request is put before the president to endorse that book. Why am I saying this? Not yet Uhuru meant that unless we overcome neocolonialism.
Can even give it forward.
Exactly. That's what he has to do. And I think he's one of the leaders in Africa who is fighting neocolonialism by industrialization. If we are not yet independent, if we cannot purify our coffee into drinkable, soluble coffee. We are not yet independent if we cannot process our raw materials. So it is not yet Uhuru. So we are going to take that up. The chairman is here. We're going to make a formal request. He will take it. It will reach the desired place. And this is one of the ways we can fight for Raila.
Okay, finally, Comrade Daniel Gramy, in your closing remarks.
One important thing is that like what our elders have been saying, when you look at Professor Ojwang and our brother Joshua Maponga Marara III, the book by Professor Mbiti. Yes, Professor Mbiti. And when he's talking about the dead, he says, so Professor Ojwanga's statement is not far-fetched. You know, it has been researched, it has been written about. The dead in the African traditional setting are not dead. And in fact, Professor Mbiti goes ahead to argue that even in death, we learn. Even in death, we learn. Yes. Therefore, it does not matter how one has lived. I mean, for how long one has lived. And we're even lucky that our senior brother, senior comrade, Amoro Odinga, popularly known as Baba, who has transitioned to another world, now an ancestor, actually lived to be 80. Because for us who have been drinking from his cup of wisdom, have been drinking for far too long. Jesus, who is worshipped across the world, and people sleep in churches, and we don't know if it is the very Jesus, because the white man, I don't trust him, you know. He could have brought us some fake
Jesus.
But I can tell you he lived for only 30 or 33
years.
You see? But you see the impact he has on the entire world. Therefore, I'm not saying that Comrade Amoro Odinga is Jesus Christ, and I hope nobody will accuse me for that. I'm only saying that the time you live, whether it is 1 year, 33 years, 80 years, it is important for one to assess the impact you have on the rest of the people in the time that we have existed before you transition. What my senior brother here has talked about in conjunction with this particular argument is that, look, we have got a very bad spirit. We have this spirit of disassociating ourselves from our past generation. We now have churches which have made it their business to cut us. They pray for you that we cut you from generational curse. Everything in the past for an African man is a curse. These are demons from your great grandfathers. They do not want you to have anything like this stick you see here. Some people will even be sending, these ones who are colonized in the mind, will be sending messages that what is that stick doing behind you whenever you are on the show. They don't want these names. I have had an experience where my girls...
Bishop Maponga, this is the gift you gave me.
Are being...
It's always guarding me in the background.
Yes. He guarding all of us, not you. We are also part of the system. So at the end of the day... At the end of the day, you remember when our transitioned elder, Air Commandante Fidel Castro, fell when he was giving a speech. Our one-time Secretary General, Pan-African Affairs, who made a prayer which was prayed on BBC. And he said all the spirits of the Nkwame Nkrumahs and what should come and protect him. Now people would have mistaken that for something.
Witchcraft.
But in all fairness, all our great grandparents, and I'm very sure that Odinga, wherever he is now, is looking down on us, is interested in how the society which he has left here is performing in terms of taking this very particular society called African society to another level. We need, therefore, in remembering Amoro Odinga, for the time he spent here with us, we must, as much as humanly possible, associate ourselves with doing that if he was still with us physically, he would have done himself. To the extent that when I look at the efforts of, say, Professor Juan there, the efforts of my brother Joshua Marara Maponga, the efforts of our own speaker here, Irumba, Andrew, the efforts of my brother here, Professor Alenyo, and many others out there, I can assure you that the dead are not dead. Patrice Lumumba is not dead. We still talk about him. He still influences what we do, not just in DRC, but the rest of Africa. Thomas Sankara is not dead. Kaisak Same is not dead. Nelson Mandela is not dead. Robert Mugabe is not dead, yet he was being ostracized, you know. And those weekend thinkers, the likes of Muammar Gaddafi, weekend thinkers up to now, you will forgive my language, will still tell you that there was dictatorship in the entire Libya. They will not tell you how the unemployment was almost non-existent in Libya. They will not tell you all these positive scorecards that Muammar Gaddafi had done in Libya, turning a desert into a fertile green land. All that they do not know simply because they are victims of the global advanced mass media in CNN and BBC to confuse the achievements, the African achievements, with their own propaganda. Therefore, I am concluding on this. I want to say that our senior brother, Odinga Amoro Baba, as he was fondly called, lived a life of a full Pan-Africanist. Whatever other shortcomings he may have experienced were only human, and it can happen to any other Pan-Africanist.
Thank you.
We must take out the positives, use the positives as a stepping stone, because you can only be good while standing on the shoulders of the great elders, for you to be able to see where they came from and make sure that you calculate properly where you are going.
Thank you so much, comrades. Daniel Rugarama Karuchiko, right here in Kampala, Uganda. Professor Alemezo William, right here in Kampala, Uganda. All these two here seated besides me are lawyers. Thank you so much. Online, Professor Humphrey Jeremiah Ojwang from Nairobi, Kenya. And thank you so much, my elder senior, my elder Mwalimu Joshua Marara Maponga III. This is the Pan-African Weekly Roundup, and my name is your speaker, the Emperor Andrew Irumba Katusave. I sign out.
Free your mind now. Be part of the People's Pan-African Parliament. The Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusave.